Sorry guys, this is a little bit of an update video and a bit of where have I been, what's been happening, why have I not uploaded, all that stuff. So the previous video I did on my Jack's Fitness talk, you could see that my face was swollen up around here, and it still is a little bit swollen, but nowhere near as bad as it was. What's happened is in the last 2 weeks, I have been through complete hell with my face and my teeth. Very nearly ended up in hospital with sepsis. Not good. Basically what happened is, I'm from England. If you're not from England, then you might not know, but basically in England we have the NHS. I've got an NHS dentist, what people usually have. I went to the dentist 6 months ago, complained about a tooth pain, and they didn't actually do anything about it. They left it, they did other fillings, what they were doing, so I needed another 2 fillings. And the actual practice that I was in was multiple dentists. The dentist that I actually had, she decided to leave the tooth alone for some reason, didn't fix it, didn't put a filling in, did the other fillings. And one of the fillings I had at the top right, she messed up twice, to the point where I ended up going to another dentist in the same fraction who actually fixed it. So hats off to her. I've been having toothache on and off all this time from the same tooth at the bottom right, and I didn't think anything majorly of it. I just thought something needs to be done by it. And then it basically got to around 2 weeks ago. It was a Monday morning, well it was a Sunday night, I was in excruciating pain and I felt absolutely crap, to the point where when you have major cold or major flu, you feel really lethargic, you've got no energy in you, basically your body just aches, or your bones ache, you just got nothing to you. And I felt like that, but really bad. And then I got a load of throbbing pain in my tooth, and I thought something's not right here. So I ended up being off work, ended up having a dentist appointment anyway. I went into the dentist and it turned out things were bad. So basically the tooth, which could have been fixed, was basically an x-ray here. That's what it looked like, and on the x-ray you can see there was a bit which was broken off. Originally that could have been fixed, but because it didn't get fixed over the 6-month time period, it basically got to the point where the tooth was dying, got brittle, and it just wasn't good. So it ended up needing to be took out. So on the Tuesday, I went in, and we turned around and I goes, right, we need to get this tooth took out, and this is where everything went bad. This isn't the dentist's fault, the new dentist, the old person's fault for not sorting it out what they should have done. And I am normally one of those people which says it is what it is, but in this case, it could have gone very bad. Without going into too much detail, basically my partner's got a family member which actually died from the same thing. People might think I'm being dramatic, but it's not. It literally can happen, and like I say, we've had a family member, I've not personally, but she's had a family member that has actually passed away from getting sepsis from the dentist from a tooth. So it's very serious. She went to take the tooth out, try doing as good a job as possible, and the tooth snapped. Basically the tooth snapped and it got to the point where nothing else could be done. We couldn't do a root canal, we couldn't get the nerves out. It was bad, and in the process of trying to take the rest of the tooth out, my gum line and my jaw just got absolutely butchered, to the point it was bad. There was pictures here. So credit to the person who actually trying to get it out, but because of the previous basically negligence, it got to the point where the tooth just snapped, and it couldn't be took out in a way that it should have been, what it should have done normally. That is where everything started getting even worse. And like I said, it's not the dentist's fault, it's not this one, it's the previous one. From that, my roots were still in, my nerves were still in, and then what happened is I began my first stage of sepsis. So for me, obviously, knowing what's happened before to my family member, the history and that, and then my dad's had sepsis, like first stages going on to it and everything like that, I know how bad it can be. I've got a son, and instantly I was just like, fuck, like, this ain't good. So I ended up going on to a treatment of antibiotics, and it got to basically the point where it was that serious that the dentist herself actually come in on a day off, and because I was complaining about how much pain I was in, I could the taste of it and everything, and it basically, like I said, it got infected really bad to the point where my body was going into the sepsis side of things. I had to be put onto antibiotics, and like I said, to the point where the dentist was actually going to drive me through to the hospital herself to get it sorted. Like, I could have been on an intravenous. Luckily the antibiotics kicked in. Yeah, it kicked off there. For the following week I was in immense pain, and I'm not kidding. I've got a very high pain threshold. Like stuff like tattoos and everything, I've been like 8-hour sessions, 6-hour, 4-hour sessions, and that, not bothered about it. I've done a lot of stuff in my past, and I've got quite a high pain threshold. It's not being big-headed, it's I just have. And I'll be honest with you, the amount of pain I was in that week was unbearable, to the point where the antibiotics I was taking and the paracetamols and all that stuff, it ended up basically making me pass out at work. I'm a big guy, I'm 6'5", I'm around, well, I were around 22 stone. I was at work, basically went to the toilet, went for a piss, turned around, boom, gone. Couldn't remember anything, woke up, leant against the wall. It turned out I'd gone to turn around, I collapsed, and nearly gone through the door at work, and my workmate, who was luckily big himself, had to pick me up off of the floor, and I was completely gone. The amount of pain I was in was ridiculous. I couldn't sleep at night, pain relief wasn't working whatsoever, and it got to the point where I ended up going back into the dentist and complaining and basically saying, I cannot do this anymore, I cannot cope with the pain, I'm passing out, I feel excruciated, it's not right. And then on the same day, all the way up, so I was basically getting electric shocks as well. I was getting electric shocks going all the way up the bottom of my teeth, all the way across the top. I mean, it was going all the way up the top to the side of my temple, to the point it was swollen here, and I could press it and it hurt. So I had pressure all the way along here, all my nerve was constantly being going on, all this side of my face was swollen up, all this side of my face was swollen up. Luckily the antibiotics were kicking in, but not properly. So we got to the point where luckily the dentist knew an orthopaedic surgeon, done it before, very good at his job, and luckily she managed to make some phone calls and I got put into an emergency operation / extraction. So I didn't have to go to hospital, very close to going into hospital, but basically that day I had to be put through to an emergency appointment, and Jesus Christ, I have never been in so much pain in my life. I thought the pain was bad before, but I ended up going in that day. The dentist had a look at it, told it, and he said, right, it's got to come out. We had x-rays and everything, so there's no two ways about it, we need to get the tooth out. They basically put 3 lots of injections into me, like 3 full syringes in. I think I had a total of 10 injections around and everything, and it got to the point where basically the dentist said your lips should start feeling numb, and they just didn't. Like it takes a lot to make me go numb anyway, and they just weren't working. And the only thing I can assume, and the dentist assumed, is it's because of the infection. It just wasn't working. But at the time I just told her, yeah, it was fine, I can't feel out, because I knew how bad this tooth needed to be took out. So unfortunately the tooth had to be split into 3 different parts. The roots had to come out, and I'm not kidding, the roots were around that big. I'm not kidding, it's ridiculous. I wish I took pictures of it. The tooth had to be snapped into a further 3 pieces, and it had to be absolutely gouged out. And the only thing I can imagine, like the only way I can explain it, is a pair of mole grips vices on the teeth. If I can get a picture, I'll show you. Twisted, broke, everything got out, and then a massive screwdriver going in, twisting, and having to literally leave the tooth out. I'm a big guy. I'm tanned all the time. I went completely white. I was shaking. I had bloody tears coming out of my eyes, but he managed to get the tooth out. In the process of it, the hole left in the gum area where the tooth was just ridiculous. The amount of damage and the amount of pain I was in after that was crazy. To the point I got up, shook his hand, said, appreciate you doing that, really appreciate you taking it out. To which point he told me that if it wasn't took out at the time, then right now I would be in hospital needing treatment. I would be needing an intravenous treatment, because I would have ended up going on sepsis properly. The antibiotics on the tablets would not have worked. I would have needed an intravenous. So I'm very lucky in that side of things. I'm not lucky because it shouldn't have happened in the first place, but I'm very lucky because I'm not in hospital right now. I'm here filming this video. I ended up going out with a dentist, nearly collapsed again. Luckily, my mum actually took me. I was going to drive myself, and she told me not to, and it's a good job I didn't drive back, because I was not capable of doing anything. Got back home, took my painkillers, couldn't sleep properly, and then around 2-3 hours later I woke up covered in blood, and it turned out that my hole in the mouth, basically where I should have had a blood clot, just dislodged, opened up again, and there was blood everywhere. So I basically ended up having to stop the bleeding twice with 2 more gauzes. Got that finally done, and I thought I was okay. I woke up, I managed to go to sleep because it was about midnight. I was absolutely shattered. I basically just fell asleep, and I woke up in the morning to a pillow covered in blood, and it had finally clotted. But yeah, that is what's happened. Like, basically the past week I've been in immense pain. This past week itself I've been recovering from this. I've not been able to go to the gym, I've not been able to do any running, I've not been able to do any lifting, I've hardly been able to eat, to the point where I've lost just over a stone in weight in 2 weeks. Literally there's been days where I've been drinking and everything, trying to drink, and the only thing I've been able to eat is 2 slices of bread and butter, and I'm not even kidding. It's just, that's what's happened. Unfortunately I've not been able to do a run today, I've not been able to train, I've not done any training in the gym whatsoever, I've not been able to eat properly. Only just got to the point where I managed to eat food properly yesterday. Even then when I was eating, it was still in pain afterwards. Like today I've managed to eat some food and I'm okay, but I'm still having to rinse with salt water and still take painkillers, still having to take ibuprofen to get the swelling down. But hopefully tomorrow I should be back in the gym, take it easy. But yeah, it's been an absolute nightmare, so that's why I'm not been anywhere. But as you can see from the x-rays and the pictures and that, it's just been, yeah. So I mean, the tip for you, if you've got toothache and you think you're in a lot of pain or anything, just make sure your dentist listens. Because like I said, the dentist I've got now, I mean she's leaving in a couple of months unfortunately, but the dentist I've got now at the moment actually cared. She actually gave a fuck about me. I managed to sort it out with better ability. The dentist before just didn't do her job, and I'm not bothered if they say anything back to me about it, because half and half whether or not I should actually go through the line of suing them with negligence, because it was ridiculous. The amount of money, because obviously you're from the NHS and stuff and you work and like you have to pay for your prescriptions, quite rightly, but the amount of money that I've had to pay for antibiotics, for painkillers and everything like that, the amount of money I've had to pay in travel to go back and forwards in the fuel and everything. And then luckily my boss is very, very understanding, but like I said, the time off work that I've had, lots of earnings, it's just got to the point where you're like, why on earth am I paying for everything when it should have been done right? Especially when you pay for the procedure as well. Obviously it's not private, but the NHS you still pay, and I was basically got told that it was going to be £26.50 because it was an urgent emergency, to then be told it was going to be 80 quid and it will back forth everything. So to be told you've got to pay around 80 quid for your tooth to be sorted out when they've actually messed it up in the first place is just like a kick in the Well, kicking my teeth really. But yeah, basically that's what's happened. I've not been able to train, lost weight. I've not lost any muscle obviously, but yeah, it's been shit. So fingers crossed tomorrow I'll be back in the gym. I'll be going back to starting the road to 300, road 300 deadlift, what I want to do. And fingers crossed we can go back to how we were. So I'm starting to eat back again, starting to eat normally again, and hopefully train properly tomorrow and see where things go. I've also got a tattoo booked this Friday, and thank God I'll be alright for it, because it's obviously it's going down the right side of my neck, and I couldn't have had it done if this tooth was still here. That's what's been happening. Not good.